Morning all, it's Tuesday, 10:40 a.m. And we've got another update that really was a bunch of news that came out on Monday, but there's already 2 bits of content out, and I felt I would just kind of, trickle it all out a little bit because they weren't major updates, but there were things that were worth comment, the things that were worth noticing. I mean, obviously, Max Dowman going on tour is a big one, and sort of being promised some kind of place in the first team. Then we had Leandro Trossard, and the idea that he might be leaving kind of did the rounds. Hand of Arsenal said that Berta had held talks with his camp more recently. Timber's having an ankle operation. So there was loads that came out yesterday. And there were 2 extra bits that I felt weren't really Arsenal news, but actually our name's kind of been dragged into it. It's kind of worth a conversation. And I'm going to go into it now. It's around Anthony Gordon and Viktor Gyökeres. So, first bit comes from Mark Douglas, Northern football correspondent at the iPaper Sport, 75,000 followers on Twitter. He said that Arsenal and Chelsea are 2 of the clubs understood to be interested in signing Anthony Gordon. It is thought there is a price tag of around £80 million on him. In recruitment circles, whispers around his future continue to circulate. Then there's stuff on Viktor Gyökeres and Man United entering the race. So let's just start on Anthony Gordon first. Northern correspondent, so I imagine quite well placed to have some insight on Anthony Gordon and that situation. Also been linked before. David Ornstein mentioned Anthony Gordon when talking about potential winger targets for Arsenal. This was maybe in the last 2-3 weeks, maybe even in the last week. Gordon has, he's made the move from Everton to Newcastle for £40 million. Chelsea were in for him before. And I think Arsenal looked at Gordon last summer. If I'm not mistaken, someone else at an ITK said that Arsenal had looked at the Anthony Gordon situation and ultimately couldn't do anything about it. I think Liverpool had looked at Anthony Gordon, and I think that might be where he prefers to play. But anyway, all this to say that there has been interest in Anthony Gordon for a player who is so important for Newcastle, going the right trajectory. I actually think there's a little bit of hesitation around his future. I don't think there are some rumours and reports doing the rounds on social media that he is open to a move, which surprises me because what's he been at Newcastle? 3 years? 3.5, maybe 3 seasons. He's been brilliant for them. He's got better and better. I have to be honest, when Newcastle bought him, I didn't see the hype around him, but I've been proven totally wrong. Really, really talented player. Very, very quick. And yeah, someone who's really stood up for Newcastle, got better and better over the years. But I just wonder why we don't apply the same Alexander Isak logic, to this Anthony Gordon situation. Why do we not look at it and say, well, they got Champions League football. It looks like they're going to. To be fair, that's not actually completely cemented. But they're going to get Champions League football, I believe anyway. Although actually they have to beat Everton, Gordon's former club, on the final day to get it done. And even if they don't, even if he is available, why would it only be 80 million? Why would they not be demanding what? Listen, 80 million is not nothing, okay? That's only 80 million. But why are they not, if Isak's 130 million or more supposedly, why is he not a £100 million player? I don't really know why this deal supposedly feels more feasible. I don't know why he would be more keen than an Isak on a move when Isak's probably going to garner even bigger interest from even bigger clubs. I'm not really sure why the same logic doesn't apply here. But maybe it's because there's just more sounds. There's just more pressure, maybe from his camp and from his area to kind of actually make a move potentially happen. Is the fact that Harvey Barnes is kind of there in the squad too. He's a very good player, and maybe that's someone that they feel they can get more out of if Anthony Gordon's to leave. I don't know. I think Harvey Barnes is a brilliant player. But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange look. I think Chelsea could come in quite aggressively for him. I think if they get Champions League football, then that just feels like a move that could happen. If the appeal of a London club, if the money's right, I don't know. If maybe he believes there's a project that suits him more. In terms of Arsenal, look, he starts for us on the left wing. Maybe he's sold by Mikel Arteta and the project there. But I had a good debate with Matthew Renton of the Magpie channel. I had that debate on AFTV before Arsenal played Newcastle. And one of the questions asked was, do you guys feel like you're catching up with us? And look, I was very much playing host, and I sort of let him have his say, and I pushed back on some things. But my general feeling on it all while Newcastle fans feel they're kind of catching up with Arsenal, is I think these things can be quite... They cannot be as sturdy as they seem. And yet Newcastle and their trajectory is brilliant, and then they've just won a cup and they're going to get Champions League football. And I think if you look at midfield and strikers, and forwards, they can boast probably maybe more quality in that area. And with the money they've got, the backing, and Eddie Howe's doing brilliant. There's such an amazing journey there for Newcastle. And for sure, next season, they could compete with Arsenal. But I feel like there's every chance they don't, because things like history, size of club, the expectation of what's done in the market can play its part. And maybe someone like Anthony Gordon goes, yeah, the trajectory is great, but maybe I've just got a higher ceiling of things I can achieve at Arsenal. Maybe. For any Newcastle fans who watch this, I think what Newcastle have done is brilliant. I think the direction is fantastic. But ultimately, sometimes, recent history and size of club, and ultimately Arsenal have been, yes, not winning it, but second the last 3 years. We're far from a bad team, Champions League semi-finalists. Maybe there's a feeling that is just one step away from reaching what everyone is sort of saying it needs to reach. And maybe someone like Anthony Gordon sees that. But then why doesn't Alexander Isak? I don't know, guys. I'm just exploring the question here. So would he push? Would he push for that move? Apparently he signed a contract quite recently. I'm not sure he would. But if Arsenal come in at 80 million, Newcastle willing to do business, would he take the deal? The kind of whispers and sounds on social media are, yeah, he probably would, which is surprising. I didn't really expect that. Now, Viktor Gyökeres. This comes from TalkSport. Manchester United are set to rival Arsenal for Viktor Gyökeres. Amorim is pushing for him as he looks to remodel United's attack. Now, if Højlund leaves, which is the expected outcome, Gyökeres comes in. That seems a natural fit. And if they beat Tottenham in the Europa League final, then they'll play Champions League football. Do I think if Arsenal and Man United go head-to-head for Viktor Gyökeres that he would pick Manchester United? This kind of goes back to a little bit of what I'm just referring to in the Arsenal-Newcastle stuff, where Manchester United is still a massive football club. Now, I think he'd pick us. I think Berta has made it quite clear that this is who he wants. And I think Arsenal are second, Man United are 16th or 17th. I don't know which one is sitting, in that slightly lower position. Either way, it's a disgrace. I think he'd pick us. But United can be aggressive. United can throw their weight around, whether it be money, whether it be Amorim, someone Gyökeres has worked with, whether it be that he believes that there's a project there that could be sold. It's not all just, tangible things like money and manager. It can be the other things, because like I said, there will still always be a massive weight that Manchester United Football Club hold. But I think if Arsenal and United go head-to-head, I would think he would pick us. Let me also say, though, I don't know if Arsenal are going to be aggressive for Gyökeres. A part of me thinks that while we are exploring the market, there is an opportunity for a Chelsea or a Man United or a Liverpool or whoever to come in and go, listen, they're not sure. They're taking their time. We want you. And I could see Gyökeres maybe going, yeah, like you're more sold on what you want to do with me and what the plan is. Now, does that fly for Manchester United that finishing 16th, 17th and not winning the Europa League and not getting Champions League football? I don't know. But does it if they've got Champions League football too? When all is said and done, we all start next season on 0 points and Manchester United might have Champions League football. And so what's done this season, yes, it will matter. Yes, we'll reflect on it and it shouldn't go kind of unscrutinised to the way it should be. But ultimately, they sell a good project if they really make him feel wanted. If Chelsea do the same and Arsenal dilly-dally on this and dither a little bit, I could see us losing out to teams that I think we would feel we shouldn't lose out to. But they're not going to be short of money and they're not going to be short of their own kind of project to sell, if that makes sense. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. But there we go. Battles for Gordon and Gyökeres. If someone like Gordon's even attainable at all. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Catch you in a bit.